Hey everyone, welcome back to the Scaling Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Harper, and joining me today is Austin Linney. If you've been growing a business fast but feel like something is off with your role in the business or just your energy in general, you will get a lot from this episode.
It's easy, and you're choosing not to address the things in your life that aren't right. I was living in such mediocrity, but also the top 1% of what I did.
Austin has worn a lot of hats in his career as a business owner, investor, business coach, hospitality veteran. But underneath all of it is a relentless curiosity about how people build, scale, and reinvent themselves. This one hits especially hard for me and especially hard for founders who've outgrown their version of success. Stay tuned. You're really going to get a lot out of this episode. All right. Austin, I'm excited to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me on the show. I'm a little discombobulated. I removed myself from my studio. I'm back in the wild. So you're the first one that everything's not perfect, and I'm freaking out. And then I'm thinking to myself, words are more important than how everything looks. So
yeah, sounds like business ownership. We
truth.
Sounds like business ownership and a good metaphor for business ownership. Well, this is cool for me. I came on your podcast, I think over a year ago. That's how we initially connected, just from Twitter or X or whatever. Really enjoyed coming on. You and I have become friends since then. And now I'm launching my podcast, and I wanted to make sure that I had you on so we could do a deep dive in you and your background and all that kind of stuff. So,
no, it's I met somebody last night from Twitter that I've been talking to for like 2 years in person. It's
nice.
It's so interesting. It's so wild. It's like, okay, like I spent like 4 hours in your home. A lot of what I knew about you, I know more now after experiencing your kids and your family. And it's just, I love that my fiance is like comfortable with it because it's such a weird thing. She's like, okay, so who are these people and what are we doing? Have you met them in person?
My internet friends, babe.
Yeah. Have you met them in person? No. Like, it was like 6 months ago. We went to Toronto to go stay with people that I'd only met through DMs and Twitter. It's just
you told me about this. Who was it? It was at Main
Reg,
Street. You told me
so
about
his name is Rez, and he works for Trivest and owns a bunch of businesses. And his wife's like, "You're not going to kill me, right?" And we're like, "No, we're good. Like I don't kill anybody." And so like we just stayed in their home, and like he was like, "Hey, tell my wife that we've known each other for a lot longer than we have." And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, deal. I was like, fair enough. But I find, like, I was talking to somebody about this at Main Street Summit. Like, my curiosity for business, I think, is greater than my need for success. Like, meaning that, like, I am just, like, immensely fascinated with, like, how people make money. Like, it's just, like, insanity. Like, I was listening to Founders Podcast this morning. He did an episode on Jerry Jones. And Jerry Jones basically wanted to be closer to his daughter, so he bought 25 lots. And so instead of developing the houses, he drilled for natural gas and made $40 million that allowed him to go buy the Cowboys. Like,
wow.
I just find that, like, that stuff, like, just intrigues me so much. And I think that in the past, before we had the internet and Twitter, like, people got to build in, like, straight secrecy. But, like, they were wild because, like, nobody cared. Like, whatever, we're just going to burn it down and do it again. Like, I'm obsessed with that, like, wildcatter, like, old oil field mentality.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that if you would have asked me 5 years ago or even 2 years ago if I thought that Twitter was going to be as big of a part of my life as it is today, I would have thought you were nuts. Elon buying Twitter was completely game changing, I feel like, for just like society as a whole for a variety of reasons. But like for us in the SMB ETA kind of entrepreneur space, it really like flushed out this like niche community. When I tell people that I'm part of this community on Twitter of ETA and SMB people, they look at me like I'm crazy. They're like, did you join like some weird thing? Is this group that you get invited to? I'm like, no, the algorithm just like knows who we are. It's very interesting.
Yeah, so some weird AI computer decides that we like each other, and then we become friends, and then we meet people, and then we go to events, and so, what's interesting, right, is like I was talking to this last night with Josh Schultz. Like what's interesting is like, and this is an interesting conversation for you because you're growing so fast. Like I thought. Like you can get so wrapped up in like I want like 40 businesses. I want to do all these things and like I realized like in the last like 6 months especially like for me like adding value to others and like visiting people and their businesses and like having a good time and traveling, like it's really all I care about. And like the day-to-day management of employees, like I really don't want to do that, but I've met so many great people that do. And so what I'm focused on in the foreseeable future is like I've tried so many things and I've done so many things. I really want to focus on like only what I do best and then only do that and like just literally turn on the blinders, because like business per se is like there's no better like crash course to like honestly it's really like what you don't want to do. It's not like hey, this is great. Like there's a lot of things you could do. But like business goes, oh, I really don't want to do this. Like, I really don't like firing people. Oh, I really don't want to, go open another, like I spent a long time in hospitality and, it's a hard treadmill to get off of. And I think a lot of business owners, I think they're doing roles because they have to, but I think deep down, like they really don't want to. And if you can get them off that treadmill and they could just focus on the things they do. There's a perfect example. My buddy's buying a business this week, I think. The seller is staying on for 2 years just to do sales for him. And he wants to. Like, he wants to. And the guy's going to, like, shepherd him on. This is a new business. And so I think that we have to explore these different conversations and different things. And people think I'm crazy when I say this. Like, I would love to, and I'm just propositioning you on your podcast. Like, I would love to go out and follow you for 2 days. Because I'm obsessed right now. Like for me, the next 3 years is just acquiring more skills and more knowledge. And the only way to do that is to put yourself in like extremely uncomfortable situations. Yeah. So it's like, send me out with your power wash team. Yeah.
You can come out here anytime you want.
Yeah.
I don't let everyone come to the trainings, but you would have an honorary, you could come to the trainings that we have. We do trainings once a month and come out for a couple days. See us interacting with franchisees. They would probably love to learn. We could even have you come out and give a little class on like going and from like where you were when you bought your business to where you are now and like kind of have like a guest appearance. I by the way, I love what you're saying. For me, like I actually just recorded content about this morning. Like focus, what you're talking about is focus. And you're talking about just doing the things that like give you energy and outsourcing the rest. And I feel like those are two reasons that business owners fail. One, they don't focus. They try to do too many things. And then all of a sudden they're like, they're giving like 8 things like part of their energy and not going deep on one thing. And the other is that they try to do things that they don't like doing. And they think that they have to keep doing things that they don't like doing. And what happens is the business suffers. And for me, it's like I'm obsessed with like resource allocation, right? Like, and I think at a certain point in size of a business, like a CEO has to be obsessed with resource allocation. That's all we have is the resources. And my time is like, I would argue, a valuable resource, right? Like, and so if I'm allocating my time doing things that don't give me energy and also that I'm not great at, then I'm not doing a good job as a CEO from a resource allocation standpoint, right? And so like there's been multiple times where I've like seen a shiny new business that I think would be a good bolt-on to franchisees and go this way and blah, blah. And like, I've kind of like gone down that rabbit hole because that stuff excites me. And then I pull back and I'm like, wait, what can I do to go deeper into Rolling Suds, and how can I make Rolling Suds continually better? And what I've done in the last year is I was doing all of the sales up until April of last year myself. So all of the franchisees that signed up until April of last year, I shepherded them through the process, start to finish. And then I was like, wait, the business needs a different version of me now. I need to build a sales team. I need to build a C-suite. I need to find a brand president. And I need to figure out what is the best and highest best in use of my time, and how do I only do that? And so now, like, I spend time doing this type of stuff with you. I go to events where I can do top of the funnel stuff for either franchisees with national accounts or like franchise sales. I create content, and that stuff gives me energy, and I've gotten better at it, right? And so everything else I've outsourced, like everything else in the organization.
So you know why most people don't get to that point? It's not for the things that they think their business isn't successful enough and all that stuff. They don't get to that point because they think they don't deserve it.
Yeah.
They think you know, like, and I'm you're talking to a former addict here. They think that the only way for success is through the pain.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, I have to like beat
to do it.
Yeah, I have to beat myself up enough to earn the right. It's like, no, you could just do it now. Like you could just like do it now and like become like I remember this story like it was yesterday because it's one of the most charismatic guys I've ever met in my entire life. He's ran a company from 3 million to 250 million in the last 50 years. So third generation. His son will take over. His dad, so his grandfather started it. When he was 26, his dad is a very soft-spoken guy, wanted to stay in the warehouse and run the warehouse. The kid was only 26. He said, no, I'll take over as CEO. He's 66 now, so 40 years running this business. And the dad knew what he wanted, and he was comfortable. Don't get me wrong. The dad probably benefited in the growth. But I respect that kind of like stepping aside and going to. Perfect example. We have a client right now in our consulting business who is a third generation as well, too. And he is a very thoughtful. He's amazing. He's thorough. He's kind of like an engineer. And I said, look, man, I said, you are amazing at what you do, and you've tripled the business, 2 years in a row. I said, what you need is somebody like me who is kind of like the lightning rod, kind of like chaos machine, for lack of a better word, to kind of keep the brand, and then you do what you want. And when I said that to him, he goes, you felt like a huge breath. And he was like, oh, yes, I don't have to do that. And I don't think, I know it sounds like such an easy statement, but I don't think a lot of people understand, like, you don't have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, it was important to like get the business to a certain size. And I think I say this to our franchisees, I say this to anyone I talk to that wants to start a business. Like at the beginning of a business, your job is to create momentum, especially if you're starting from zero. Like you have one job. It's chief revenue officer. Like you have to create momentum and you have to create revenue. And then you have to make sure you can deliver the product or service that you're delivering. But like without revenue, your employees aren't going to continue working for you. You're not going to be able to support the delivery of the service or the product. And so for the first, from February of 2023 to April of 2024, it was revenue, driving revenue. And then I stepped out of that and I made this pretty big bet. I was like, I think that if I stepped out, I mean, it was an educated bet, but I was like, I think if I step out of sales and I focus more on content creation, I could decrease our cost to acquire a franchisee by finding more organically sourced franchisees that are of higher quality, that will then also pay, that income will pay for a sales team, a C-suite, and give us more bottom line revenue. Like I was like, and I'm telling you, Austin, nobody thought this was a good idea. Like everyone was like, what are you doing out there promoting yourself? I'm like, trust me, I've seen people like Alex Hermosi do this. I've seen people like this is the way. And it ended up working out. We went from 7% in 2023 of our franchise sales revenue coming from organic to 42% of our franchise sales revenue coming from organic in 2024. And so I was like, all right, well, if I'm great at sales, then, and I'm not as good at operations, that it wouldn't make sense for me to step out of sales, which I'm great at, and go into operations, which I'm not as great at. So I need to hire like an integrator kind of type person that can help me implement some of these strategies. And I'm just telling you, like, I'm such a happier person now. So for anyone who's listening to this, that's thinking about starting a business, like to Austin's point, like you do not have to do the things that you don't like doing for the business to grow. In fact, my sales team is selling more units than I was, finding great candidates, and my operations team is firing on all cylinders. And I can disappear for 5 days if I need to and go to an event or whatever, and the business continues to run. So I think it's important that people know that.
And I think the deeper layer, the mindset stuff that intrigues me is like the problem with a business owner is like your self-worth is tied into closing that sale, and you can't for the life of you think that somebody could do it better than you. And then they do it better than you and don't need you, and you're like, damn, I don't feel wanted anymore, right? I mean,
the business doesn't need me for this part. What?
That's you spent your whole life trying to create a lifestyle business. The moment that you do it, you got to find a place to fill your time up. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, so you had a huge year. I know you and I
Okay.
talked about it briefly at the end of last year. I just called to check in on you. What happened? What did you think was going to happen? You bought this business less than 2 years ago, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So walk me through that kind of.
So
you bought it. This is what I thought was going to happen. Here's what happened.
Yeah, I think what's important to note is that you create kind of what's the word? I think that when we get into business, I think that we think thing is going to be one way, and then it really is something else, right? And I think that looks can be deceiving. Like, we had some older commercial contracts that we had to fulfill that had been pushed, right? So that were supposed to happen the year prior, like 6 months prior to closing, but they got pushed back a year for reasons or the economic issue with the client we're serving. And so the problem being is that all these big contracts slammed together at the exact same time, exact same year. So it has been, it's been a lot. Commercial work is different than residential HVAC work, the type of people that you need, the type of knowledge you need, the amount of money you need to buy equipment. So it's been kind of a minefield of just getting your, beat up left and right. You have great commercial clients, and then you have really terrible commercial clients. And it feels like sometimes you're wrestling a great white shark, and it feels like sometimes you have the best client in the world. And so it's been a massive learning lesson. And as these projects have ended, the type of business, because we've decided to focus more on residential, and we already knew that was going to be the plan. The type of company that you need to build in that is different. And so the company's gone through restructuring the last 60 days, which we knew was coming. The type of leads that you're going, we're actually scaling down in the size of the staff because we don't need as many, because you're executing quicker. Cash flow is coming in quicker. So it's been a lot of, honestly, it's been just straight up a mess for like 2 years straight. You're also dealing with old third-party vendors that the old seller was using. And so you're trying to, bridge those relationships into the new, not people that are stuck in 1980s. So it's been really, really messy. What I think is the focus now, and this is kind of an overall life focus for me in general, is that I want to focus more on steady, predictable, consistent actions opposed to like just trying to set the world on fire every quarter. You know, I just think that like mentally, like Chris Ballard, who is one of my favorite people in the entire world, owns a big HVAC company in Vegas. He said, your growth, your scale can kill your people, like not figuratively, but like it can kill them. They can't keep up. And it's something that I noticed big time, even in myself. You know, it's been nonstop. And so for me, that's what this whole year is about and moving forward is like, where do I actually want to be? What seat do I actually want to be in? And what roles do I actually want to do? Because I think that we can fall in love with scale. And, you know, especially when you're doing large commercial projects, you know, a couple mistakes here and there can really get the entire business off the rails because the commercial side is eating the residential side.
Yeah.
You know, and vice versa. And so I think if I had to go back and do it again, I think I would definitely tamper down expectations and kind of look for more of a 5-year growth plan than a 2 to 3 year like inferno, you know, singe, for lack of a better word.
So how big was the business when you bought it?
So it was like 3.2. I mean, if you could call it that. I mean, honestly, it's probably more like 2.8 if I had to guess.
Okay. And you bought it in end of 23?
Yeah. Yes. So
okay.
2 years.
And then how big is it now?
So last year did like 6, I want to say, or like 5.8, somewhere in that range. But the goal.
Growth.
But the goal, yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. The goal, not at all.
We're gonna get into that.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it at all. But the goal is more of the goal is to do that revenue again, but 100% commercial, or pardon me, 100% residential.
So what was the split, resi to commercial?
So when we bought it, I think it was like 80-20. I think we finished probably 60-40, 65-40, maybe 70-30. But the goal would be to do it 25 commercial, the rest residential. So
yeah, it's so interesting because like people hear commercial and they're like, okay, it's recurring. These are big ticket items, high margin. Like I want those contracts, right? Like people hear that. But what it ends up being is you're oftentimes your entire business is dependent upon like 3 or 4 customers. And if one of those jobs goes wrong, you don't have a business. You have like a liability.
And they have moods that move with the tides, right?
Yes.
And what I mean by that, I'm not talking about a singular person. I'm talking about a company that is so big that has 85 projects going on at the same time around the country, and 3 of them could go south, and their entire, you know, and business flow is thrown into a mix, right? And so we're servicing right now the largest multifamily owner in all of America, and they are a nightmare. I mean, They're rude, they don't care, you're a number. I mean, it is miserable. Like and then we have the county, who's the sweetest. They write the check the same day. They whatever you need. We're very excited, and so it's just so different. And I don't think. And look, I'm going to say this, and people are like, yeah, it must be nice, right? And I'm talking about it in every aspect, right? Coaching, the consulting I do, podcast guest, HVAC business, landscaping business. The key in this game is picking your clients. Mm-hmm. Like I know people are like, oh, you can't do that. No. The moment that your client starts showing red flags, walk away. Like it's just not. It's not worth it. The money is not. You could get 5 more clients behind them. It's just that is probably the biggest lesson I've learned in the last 5 years, and it's very hard to do because it's discipline.
Yeah. Well, choosing your clients once you're of a certain size. I mean, at the beginning, you can turn down revenue, but I think what people don't realize is like if you sign up for one commercial client, that's where the snowball then you go
Sure.
down that path, and then all of a sudden you start getting more and more commercial clients. Whereas if you want to build a residential business with that steady cash flow, like saying no to that first commercial client is also saying no to the next 3 or 4 or 5 after that.
Yeah. And then I think, but there's ways around that. Like, let's say you have to take it. There's ways to set the expectations ahead of time. But more importantly, ask enough questions where you know what the expectations of are you. Like,
Right.
I think that we can get excited about what we see in the top line, but not asking what that contract is going to do to your lifestyle, right?
Right.
When the GC's texting you 6 times before 6 a.m., that's not an ideal situation.
Yeah. One of our franchisees cleaned the top of the Superdome.
Yep.
And it took 9 months for them to win that job. And they were under a general contractor. And massive, massive job. Huge publicity element for us. So killer win. However, for the franchise owner, if they would have done it the way that they wanted to do it, would have taken 3 weeks to complete. But the GC basically dictated the way they did the cleaning because we were under them. So it ended up taking 9 weeks, and which is a much different margin. And so not understanding how much kind of creative control, let's just call it, that they would have on the job, ended up making the margin on the job very slim. And I just, they also had one other job that was it was a massive job. Like, it was the entire city hall in New Orleans, but they focused heavily on commercial last year. And so without those 2 jobs, their business wouldn't have been profitable for the year. Now, they ended up being very profitable because of those 2 jobs. But what they're focused on this year is the same thing you're focused on, is how do we distribute the cash flow and make the business more stable by focusing on a bunch of smaller residential jobs so that we're not dependent on commercial for like existence. We're dependent on commercial for like scale or like reinvestment and stuff like that. And so we've made a massive shift, at least like culturally within our franchise, because a lot of franchisees have kind of gone in that direction where it's like, we're going to just whale hunt. And I had a meeting with all of our franchisees last week. I'm like, guys, you've trusted us to help you build a valuable business that you could sell one day or pass on to your kids or whatever. If your business is dependent upon 2 customers, no one's going to pay you anything for your business. Like, you have to have steady cash flow, consistent residential jobs that are coming in regularly where you get paid immediately afterwards, and still go get the commercial, but it can't be your lifeline.
No, it's velocity of cash, at the end of the day, right? And I think that, once again, because I can't stop talking about it, I think the bigger contracts make us feel really good inside, because it's like we won and it's a big thing and we like to whale hunt. Like, nobody likes to whale hunt like I like to whale hunt, right?
Yeah.
But I also think that you should, and I'm just spitballing here, you should have somebody in your business that only does that, meaning that his focus is 100% on the one-to-many and the one-to-whale, because commercial is that way. There is no marketing that's going to allow you, but that's all he does, and he doesn't distract from the overall viewpoint, right? And I think that's one of the things that I get excited about these days when we help businesses, is like silo out the energy of that person and only allow them to do that. And so, meaning that, like, think about it. I'll just break it down real quick. That could be a singular college guy that's just working straight commission, but when he hits that commission, he's making, half a year's salary with one big whale, and you're going, that's great. Well, that one client's going to lead to more. And so there's so many different ways I love to compartmentalize business. So, like, one of the things that we've talked about at length is, like, the commercial and the residential business can be under the same name, but they have to be separate businesses. They have to be their own people, their own project manager, their own team, everything. Because I do believe that done right, you can do 2 to 5 to 3 to 7 million but you have to pick your clients. You have to have the team that knows what they're doing. You have to have the own line of credit for it. Like, it needs to be separate. It can't be like, just cannibalizing the residential business.
Yeah, because you can't serve two masters, right? Like, they're very different businesses. That's an interesting take.
Because I read it in a book many years ago, and he said, look, there's two different marketing. There's branding, and then there's marketing. And he's like, just split it up. And I was like, I never thought about that. And so it's the same thing in business. Like honestly, like plumbing serves HVAC, but it's different businesses. Electric serves that. So like have a leader in each department who owns it and owns that P&L, I think is the way to do it. And I think that a lot of people want to say they can do a lot. Like they're like, we're good. Like I know because I've said it. We're good. We'll figure it out. Well, the problem is that the way that technology is changing, and this is more so in HVAC or something like this. The way that technology is changing and these systems. I mean, dude, some of this stuff is like, I would say, you know what? I love to talk about mistakes. The number one mistake, because I can sell anything, but the number one mistake I didn't account for was the level of knowledge needed to sell HVAC systems. Like the load count, the new technology, the Wi-Fi, the sensors, like it's changing like every 6 months, a year. And so you need to have, it's not like you're just going to go out and go, oh, we're just going to put in a system and it's blah, blah, blah. No. Like, and so I don't think people, when they're buying an HVAC company or they're buying, like, they don't, like, I would, like, literally, that's the first thing I would do is, like, go find who's the knowledge guy in that company as soon as you can talk to him and go, what is your depth of knowledge here? Because we're going to need to pass on what you know to everybody. And those are the things that, like niche selling, I think, is probably something that's not looked at enough during due diligence.
And what did you do? Because you didn't have any experience in HVAC before you bought this business, right? So what did you do before?
So I spent, I've had a couple different businesses, but I spent 20 years in high-end hospitality, wine sales, hotels, master bartender. And then during that same time in the last 7 years, I was doing large-scale Airbnb. So I've done, cut my teeth in real estate for 7 years. So I was doing, I've done Airbnb hotels. We ran properties for managers in 7 states. Kind of 2 years before I got out of Airbnb, I was kind of seeing the decline of it. And kind of over it. Really bad, right? Yeah, I'm kind of over it. Like honestly, like real estate's like boring as hell. Like, pardon my language. Like it's just boring. It's just so boring. And so I was kind of like transitioning out of it, and like business is like a problem that you can never stop solving. But I was always coaching people and consulting, like in that kind of span. And so I was kind of over mortgage brokers, and we just decided to get it in business. And one of the things, and I haven't even had a chance to talk to you about this yet, but like even in the last like 2 months, like my entire life is changing because, so I was, when I was doing real estate, I was coaching, 15 to, 18 clients a month on mindset, addiction, getting through divorce, business, growing sales, all that stuff. Like I'm former drug addict, alcoholic, so sober 6 years. So I was doing that, and I put all that on hold to buy this business. And I was coaching my team and everything. And what I realized is like that for me is like what fills my bucket up. Like coaching teams, helping people have a better relationship with their spouse, lose weight, elevate their mindset, double their income. Those are the things. And so all these people around me were like, look, like you can do this, but like day-to-day operations of business, like that's not really your cup of tea. So like in the last like 6 months, 3 months, I've been like diving back into it, and I feel like amazing. Like I feel that's like awesome. I am like one of my favorite videos of all time. Literally I've watched it like 72 times. I'll send it to you after this. Guy Ritchie talking to Joe Rogan. It's about a 10-minute video, and he talks about the king and the 2 sons, and the son goes off away. The quiet son stays back with the dad. The loud son goes away and whores himself out, parties, like loses all of his money and is like feeding pigs. Like this is the king's son, right? So he finally gets up the courage to ask his dad, to come back into the family, and the dad kills the fatty calf, and they all eat, and the son goes, "I've been loyal to you, this whole time, and you didn't kill the calf for me." And Joe said, "What do you think that story is?" And he said, "You're all three people. You have to lose yourself to find yourself."
Yeah.
And I had to go do these things over here to go, wait, hold on. Like I was at my peak when I was traveling around, working from a laptop or my RV and helping people enhance their lives. And so what I realized about that whole thing is I have always done this in my life. I've always left behind good for great. And people are like, "Oh, you made some money over here. That's cool." Yeah, but I'm not like 100% charged up. Like you I'm using you as an example. Like you, when we saw each other, you said like, "I love making content." Yeah. Like not a lot of people are like, "Yeah, dude, like I'm totally straight with this. Like this is really good," right? Like you found, like here's the thing. There's not a part of your body that doesn't exude, "I want to make content. I love rolling suds. I have my vision." Like you're set, right? And so when I'm like helping a client, I'm like, "Oh yeah, like this is what we're gonna do on week 3. We're gonna do this on week 6." Like it's not even it doesn't even like it's like boom, 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 boom. Yeah. And so like when you find that thing, like I think that we as people get distracted. Because we think we should be doing something else because this can't be the thing. But like I always think to myself, like those football coaches that like coach for like 80 years, like 60 years, like they just love it. So like it's totally cool that you can just do that.
Yeah. So I totally agree. And I think that is something that I think every single person should ask themselves, whether they're an employee or whether they're a business owner, like what do I enjoy doing and what fires me up? And how do I just do more of that so that I don't burn out, but also how do I live an enriched life? So tell me what that looks like. So you bought this business, you grew it, almost doubled it in size, probably did double it in size roughly in 2 years. And now you're focused. So now you're diving into coaching. Yeah. So this is a different business. So what does your team look like at the HVAC business so that allows you to do that? So
one of the things that I got lucky with right in the beginning is we right around the same time had a 20-year plumber / like guy who'd been a CEO, like started the same week I did. So like I hired him, like his resume was floating around, but they hadn't called him. And so I hired him. So about 4 months in, like literally second weekend, he was already COO, and then I made him CEO 6 months later.
Oh, nice.
So he's been running the business per se. So I was like president, like helping out. Like it was always the plan for me to leave anyway, and get back on the road. And so him and then one of the business partners helps out as CFO. We have a great marketing company, and then we just hired a GM. We just promoted a GM in January who's running the branches. And so kind of just like stepping out of their way. And one of the things that I've did in the previous 2 years is I would leave for a business trip or conference. And whenever I left, we never went back to the way it was before I left. So like there were roles that were taken and like we just, okay, cool. We never went back. And so every time I left, like things went off my plate, but it's also like discipline for yourself to like not give in, like meaning like send that employee to the right person they should be talking to, like, which is really hard because I want to answer every question. And so you just learn over time to like send them, oh, no, you need to ask the GM. Oh, you need to ask the CEO. You need to do that. And so when we got to a place where the chaos was less and it's more stability, like I am like the king of like starting the fire. I'm really good at that. Like I'm really good at like pushing the team, like super motivation. Like I'm very optimistic. But I realized like 6 months ago, like the company needs like It doesn't need a motivation. It doesn't need excitement. It needs boring consistency for the next 3-5 years. It just needs to steadily grow at a clip. And my CEO said something to me 9 or 10 months ago that changed my entire life. And I was like, damn, dude. I was like, you're really dropping bombs tonight. So he texts me because I felt guilty. This is a true story. I felt guilty about wanting to get back out to mountains in my RV. I really did feel guilty. And he said, let me explain something to you. He says, you changed every aspect of who you are to get this business off the ground. It's not a crime for you to go back to who you always were meant to be.
I love that.
And it was like the freedom to choose the life that I wanted. And it's not, you don't have that many people in your life that really want that for you.
Yeah. I love that. I thought that I had to, literally, I'm talking less than a year ago. I thought I had to step out and I had to do the things that the business needed that I wasn't great at because it was my business. I founded it. I've got to do it. No one else is going to do it. And I was just grinding, man. And it was not only a lot of hours, but it was also sucking my energy. And I had you only have so much energy. Energy is a finite resource. And so then my family, my wife is I'm coming home and I've got no gas left in the tank. And then my kids, which isn't fair, I don't have any gas left in the tank for them. And I'm I gotta hire people. And it took significant investment from where we were last year to where we are now in order to get us to be prepared for the growth that we're experiencing this year. I mean, we're now at about 270 units nationwide, I think 32 states, about 80 franchise owners. And last year I built a full-blown executive team, a CFO, CDO, CMO, and then a brand president who's essentially more or less a COO. And he runs the day-to-day. But I'm such a happier person now. And it's also okay that I'm doing this. It's okay. And that's I think this mental
you're talking to
that
me.
A lot of people don't do.
You're talking to me 3 days into this.
I love that.
You're talking to me awesome. Literally the RV got set 3 days ago.
Oh, that's so awesome.
So it's but here's the problem, right? Now I'm back on my different schedule where I'm talking to people. I have a podcast today. I've got a podcast tomorrow. I'm coaching people on Wednesday. I'm coaching people tomorrow. Right. Now I have all my time back. Now I feel this huge gap in my life, and I'm oh, this is work? I have to recalibrate what work is to me because I was working 14-hour days overseeing a project, right? And so this is it's a huge okay, you have to slow down to go faster. But I'm trying to it's a recalibration of what is actually my role now, which is to do what you're doing, which is to create content again, go on podcasts. And so which is what I love. I love conversation. And so that can be your role if that's what you love. And so perfect example is I've been getting up every morning at 3 a.m. working, driving 2 hours every day, sitting on a job site for 12 hours, then driving home 2 hours. So I've been getting up at 3. I've been getting home at 6:30, 5 days in a week for the last 5 months. Today I woke up at 6:20. I went to the storage unit. I had breakfast with my fiance. I went to the gym. I did some work, and now I'm talking to you. And I'm and then after this, we have some guy coming over to fix our thing, and then I'll go for a walk with her. And it's okay. This is the new thing. It's just such a weird, because I can get in that mode where you can't stop me. If you ask me to do something, I'm just going to go do it. I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just going to go to work. But I realize that is not the highest, best use of my time for anybody involved.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this so much because it's been exactly how I've thought about just the value of time, and time is the most valuable resource you have. And so if you're spending it doing things you don't like doing just to grow a business that is eating you alive, like it doesn't make sense to do that long term, and it's not the best thing for the business. So the existing, so you've got your business, you've got a CEO in place. Love that.
Yeah. Let's talk about what
so
I'm
what's
really
your-
excited about. Yeah. Let's talk about what I'm really excited about.
Yeah. So that's
So,
what, yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So-
So tell me about the consulting coaching business.
Yeah.
What does it look like? What's the revenue goals? How many
So-
clients do you have? Like, tell me everything.
So I had this idea like a couple years ago. So I've been one-on-one coaching for like 6 years. All right. And it's great. And I love it. And I've helped people through divorce and changing their job and all of it, and addiction and all this stuff. But there are a lot of things that I get asked to do within that thing that I'm not amazing at, or it's not really my specialty. And so I thought to myself, like, what if you created like Navy SEAL consulting, where like you brought in like experts together and then you got to stay in your lane. And so Josh Schultz, who's the ops king, AI on Twitter, I said, look, you left CaneCast, would you be open to this? And he says, I'm interested, I'm intrigued. And then so my other business partner who's done this, who's opened, done 50 million in marketing, launched 5 companies, franchises, worked at a consulting firm for small businesses. Like he's the quintessential like vision, like systems process king. And so we have a thing here. Let me focus on the people, the recruiting, the management, the coaching, and the leadership. You focus on that. Josh does what Josh does. And so we launched it in so about almost 30 days or 60 days ago. And we basically, the premise was super simple. Instead of having some, and I'm doing it on purpose, instead of having some douchebag who wears a sweater vest, who's actually never been in the trenches, try to tell you how to run your business, what would it look like if actual business owners gave you tangible advice from living it? And the response is it's been very good so far. And so we're really focused on finding the right client, because these relationships can last a long time and you're spending a lot of time with them. And so we're pleasantly surprised on the type of businesses and people we're attracting. And we're really loving it because it's mix and match. So we have a client who needs more marketing help. Well, that's me and Conrad. And so for the first 90 days, we're focusing on that. And then after that, once we get the marketing dialed in, then guess who comes in? Josh is going to dial in your systems. And we're kind of just like, dancing around. And so we're loving it. And so the key is not, we don't really have a revenue goal. We have a client goal, but it's not like we want 1,000 clients. We actually don't want that. We want only 8 or 10 proper clients for the first year. And then we're figuring out ways to put them in buckets where they can have a community. But I'll tell you right now, man, this is the thing that surprised me the most. And you, I think, will understand this because you probably do this in your own business. I'm not saying that we're not helping with marketing. I'm not saying that we're not helping with sales and but you want to know the biggest thing that they all need and want that's come out of this? Support. Mm-hmm. They want somebody to talk to. And guess what? Yeah. Their fiance or their wife is tired of talking about it. Mm-hmm. So, yes. You know what I'm saying? And so it's been this thing of like, they've been asking, like, can we have like a community? And so we're going to talk about, that as like creating this community of like, hey, I got this problem. What do you think about this problem? That to me was very surprising, is that, a lot of entrepreneurs feel like they're stuck on an island somewhere.
Yeah. It's one of the scariest things about business ownership is the loneliness of it. And I think it's underestimated, particularly in the searcher world, in the ETA world. It's like, I'll just buy this cash flowing business that's doing $3 million, and I'll just put the money back in and get an SBA loan and leverage it, and then I'll know what to do because I've gotten an MBA, or I've been in management consulting, or whatever other background. But what people don't realize is that business ownership is a significantly lonely endeavor. And fortunate, like, okay, so like for me, for example, when I launched Rolling Suds, there wasn't a playbook for how you acquire the brand for a 34-year-old power washing business and turn it into a national franchise. Like, you can't Google that online and get something. So one of the first things I did after I created the business and took it to market is I reached out to other home service franchisors in the industry who were doing similar things, whether they founded it or acquired it, whatever. And I created a mastermind, and it's like an invite only. We meet once a month. It's not a business. I don't charge anything for it, but I pick a specific topic that's relative to us as business owners, as franchisors in the home service space. And we talk about it for 90 minutes. And then once a year we meet in person somewhere. And across the like 9 founders, we collectively have like 3,800 units nationwide. All in home services, and or residential and commercial services. And we meet, and it's super helpful, and we've developed this community. And, you know, people pay a lot of money for that kind of stuff, whether it's EO or YPO or Hampton or Tribe or any of these things. Like, people pay money to be part of these types of communities, or they pay you guys to create that. And it's so valuable. We basically just rolled this out to our franchisees and modeled it after the one that I created. So now the top franchisees lead these masterminds where they meet once a month for 90 minutes and they talk to each other and they pick a specific topic and help each other out. And I just think that that's something that people need to think about when they start a business is how do I create my tribe, and how do I put myself in situations where I've got people to lean on who have maybe done the thing before or whatever. So I think that's great you're doing that.
Well, I think what's interesting, right, is that what you're protecting against is to not feel like you're losing your mind. Like you know what I'm saying? Like literally, like I had dinner with Josh and his wife last night, and like he was telling me stories of like his previous business, and I was like, oh, I feel like really good right now, you know. And you're like you know what I'm saying? Like, and so you know, people are different, and so one of the things I was talking to a Better CEO this morning, and we were just talking about this business, and he said, you know, basically you're kind of like an HR, COO, CFO kind of like business in a box. And I was like, yeah, exactly. That's what we want to do, because your wife who's trying to, wife or husband who's trying to take care of the kids and get them to soccer practice doesn't need to hear about how your business is burning down every day, or you're going to go, you know, wait tables or whatever you're going to go do, you know. And what's crazy is like these people have created great businesses and they've really created something special, but nobody's told them that. Mm-hmm. Like when you see the inside of a business, they're like, dude, no, you created something really good. You just have to do this, this, and this, and you're going to take it to the next level. And then most of the times what I find is that they have false goals built around other people's expectations. And so really just creating kind of the roadmap for yourself and leaving behind, you know, your dad or your moms or your cousins or your brothers kind of whatever that be, expectations, that really creates a freedom to build. Because I think that's what's crazy is like, let's be honest, like it's a simple exercise, but it's very powerful. Like if I asked you to build $100 million business in 2 years, you'd be like, no, can't do it. but if I asked you to do it in 50 years, could you do it? Well, I could give it a good shake. Well, like, okay. So if you have the house, you have the cars, you're traveling, the family's healthy, like where are we trying to go here? Right? And so one of the things that I've found refreshing is because we have experience, I could speak directly to you living through that own sweat. Meaning, I mean that figuratively and mentally. When I say like panic attacks, I'm saying, yes, I have had panic attacks. Like this is real. Like I'm not trying to be some like fake person. And so that was for me. And I say this only in my coaching too. Look, I'm all about degrees and I'm all about that. Like, but I dropped out of college 3 times. And the reason I can talk about meth addiction is because I lived it. The reason I can talk about divorce is because I lived it. The reason I can talk about addiction, the reason you can talk about franchises And the reason that, and I've heard your podcast, meaning your ones you've been on, the reason that Rolling Suds is successful is because what you created prior to this and what you saw, and you said, you know what, I think I could do this, I think I could do that different, and then boom, it was there. But most people don't even have that confirmation that they're on the right path.
Right. Yeah, I think that's so valuable to be able to give that perspective and that lens to business owners. So are you primarily targeting like a specific type of business owner, or like a specific business size, or like what's kind of your ideal customer profile?
So we like 3 to 15 million is the business. Okay. We've got, they kind of cover the gamut, trades businesses or go to manufacturing because of Josh's background. But we've done roofing, landscaping, we've got commercial refrigeration. So kind of cover the gamut is what we're looking for. But more importantly, and this was like, I would have already put in this rule, but this was Josh's rule, and I love it. Like, we're only going to work with people that also value a good life the same as good revenue.
Yeah.
I
love that. It's so important.
And like, dude, like hey, look, I've seen a lot of businesses that make 25, 30 million and the profit's 3% and the owner's unhealthy and they're in terrible toxic relationships. I don't want nothing to do with that. And the thing that people don't seem to understand is that it's very easy to sell KPIs, cash flow, but that's why I don't talk about it as much. If I'm going to tell you that you're going to be happier, you're going to be like, I'm good, bro. Don't even, no, like that doesn't do anything for me. I want more revenue. I want more revenue. I want more revenue. I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand that if you golf one day a week, you might create double the revenue with you out of the office. And so we, I try to hit him with that once we get him in the door. You know what I'm saying?
Did you read Sahil's book, Bloom's book, The 5 Types of Wealth?
I haven't read it yet. I haven't read it yet. It's on the list. For me,
Audible, download it, never buy it.
So I'm obsessed with do you know Don Miguel Ruiz? His dad wrote the 4 Agreements.
Oh, yeah. I know.
So I'm obsessed with that whole Toltec, because the thing is what I'm excited about more than anything is that business owners have access to books like Sal's and Don Miguel Ruiz and all these things, because I think that, and I say this, and please don't turn me off when I say this, but a holistic approach to everything, right? 9 times out of 10, and people that can't see me right now on screen, you have a circle, and here's your life, right? Yeah. And people spend 80% on the things that make them money, and they neglect the 20%. But the 20% creates the 80%. We've missed the connection.
Yeah, so you'll love the book, because that's essentially the thesis, is that we as a Western society are we are trained to basically look at financial wealth as the main kind of driver of all the other, of happiness. Mm-hmm. And what the thesis is that there's 4 other types of wealth. I think the other ones are physical, mental, social, and time. Those are the other ones. And he goes down and he breaks through how you can grade your life based upon all those other types of wealth, and that it doesn't make sense to move your family somewhere to another job, let's just say, that's going to pay you double just because you're going to make double the amount of money, when you have your community and you have your family nearby and you have this whole kind of life that you leave just to go double your money. The other thing is, there was a study that out of all of the people, no matter what wealth level they were at, whether they were worth 3 million or 100 million, when asked if they had enough money, every single time they said it was between 2 to 3 times more than they had in order to be happy. Yeah. 2 to 3 times more. So it's
I've asked this question to every one of my clients, anybody I can run into. I say, are you successful? Not one person has said yes.
Yeah, because they think they need 2 to 3 times more than they currently have. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so I've got this great business. we've built this, like, I mean, it's been a bullet train where we're at. Our franchisees are getting huge contracts. We're targeting national accounts, but like it's like running without me. Like I could leave for 3 weeks and the business would continue to go and it wouldn't need me. And so it's like, all right, well, what can I do now to impact my life with all of the other types of wealth? In terms of spending more time with my family. Like I don't work on the weekends, period. I don't work past 5, period. Like it's just, I'm with like I have my family. Like the other thing it says in the book is that you have 10 good years with your kids before you become a taxi, a bank account, like an ATM machine, or, you know, a drive. Like you have 10 good years to become that where you're your kids everything. And and so I'm really looking through the lens of it. You'll love the book. I'm like on chapter 20 or something like that, but it's really good.
And I think that, like, my dad was like very successful when I was growing up, and you know, he was a dentist, high-end dentist, and you're creating this kind of like path that you're walking down, and you're saying, okay, I need to beat him, right? Because you're just competitive, and then like, all I want is to go play golf with my dad now.
Right.
I don't want to beat him. I just want to hang out with him. Okay. So like,
yeah.
What does that do? How do I do that? Right. Like here's the thing. Like there's a business that I've had in my mind for like, since I was like 17. Right. But the mechanics behind it, the financial, like what I want to do, like I honestly won't start this until like I'm like 55. Because like it's my retirement business, like where I could just do it till I'm like 90, because I just love it, right? Okay, so until that time, I'm gonna do everything that fills me up, and I'm gonna know that if I do that, like the rest. I was talking to Josh about this last night. The amount of like I'm doing it on purpose. The amount of like I don't give a shit anymore is just like so deep in my body, like you know, like seriously, yeah. Okay. Here's something that people don't talk about. Okay, and I only know this because we've done it multiple years, and now we're back doing it again. The attitudes and mood of people that hang out at RV parks is unmatched. It's unmatched.
Tell me more.
Okay, they are doing what they love. They have minimal shit, and they're outdoors. And let me explain something to you. Everybody I've met, the most successful people I've ever met in my entire life, have been in an RV parks. This is not a cheap man's game.
That's so cool.
I love it. Here's another example for you, and I think people will resonate with this so much, and they've never heard it. I hope they never heard it before because it's so good. I hate the beach, but I love to be at the beach. Like I hate sand. I don't like sand, but I love everybody's attitude when they're at the beach. Jimmy Buffett's on, they're chilling, it's fun. They'll do things they didn't want to do. To create the way that I need to create, I need to be around those people in order to be me. And something that RV gives me that living in a house or having a job doesn't is my mind needs to roam. And if I don't have the space to roam, I feel closed off.
Yeah.
And so you have to understand those, like perfect example is like the first thing I ask a client is like, what did you love to do at 13, like 10 years old? And they go, when's the last time you did that? 7 years ago. Why? Like,
yeah,
you know, like get back to doing that. Like perfect example. Like my buddy, one of the guys I coached like years ago, he loved to golf. He stopped doing it. He started golfing 2 days a week. In the first week he started golfing, he golfed with a guy who sold a $250 million business and a guy who sold an $80 million business. They're still best friends, and he's tripled his business since he met those guys. I'm like,
that's wild. Yeah. No, it's so true. Do the things you love. So when I started this podcast, and it's just like, this is episode number 5, what I really wanted to do was really get to like a deeper meaning behind kind of entrepreneurs and why they do the things we do. And that has been what we've talked about today. But if you're comfortable with it, I know you've been public about this, but I think that's even more true for people who have been through like really hard times. And so what kind of, where were you, whatever, 7 years ago? And
Sure.
like, what made you decide, gosh, there's something better out there and I'm going to fight for that?
Because I appreciate you and I appreciate your honesty and your energy. I'm going to get as real as I can, probably haven't in a long time.
Awesome.
Because I know this because
Thank
I've
you.
seen it. I've seen it firsthand. And this is my message to everybody, because there's some people struggling out there right now. And I know because they're in my DMs
Mm-hmm.
when I post about it.
Yeah.
There are many of you walking around thinking that you don't have a problem. And I'm here to tell you that you do. Okay? And I'm not saying that it's booze, I'm not saying that it's drugs, I'm not saying that it's porn, I'm saying it's work. It's work. Okay? And you are taking the vehicle and you're attaching it because it's easy, and you're choosing not to address the things in your life that aren't right. I was living in such mediocrity, but also the top 1% of what I did. It's like the craziest oxymoron in the world. I was the best bartender and server at one of the nicest restaurants in the country with the highest sales and the breaking every record. And I was a fucking asshole. I was miserable. If anything didn't go right my way, like I know, because I have friends who I'm still friends with. They were like, you were a dick and you were drunk all the time. Like, not hammered, but you were like always like drunk. And I joined a mastermind. And it was the first time I'd been around successful men. And like it was mainly men. It was a couple women, but I'm just using the context. It was men, business owners, people that had 30 Airbnbs, 1,000 units, multiple businesses. And this is a true story. We had a contest for the incoming group. There was 290 people. There was 30 people that came in my group. I'd been looking for something for like this for like years. And the contest was to see who could meet the most people on a 30-minute Zoom call or a 30-minute phone call in 30 days. So everybody else had like 12, 7, 5, 16. I did 92. Like, I was just like, if you have a business and you want to talk to me, I want to ask you questions. But I was like fixing their businesses. And like these guys were like, look, dude, you're all over the place. This is right when I was getting sober. They're like, you're a nightmare. Like, but you have something, like, just keep going, kid. Right. And so I'm going to tell you a quote that I heard from one of the smartest women I've ever met in my entire life, because it changed my entire life. That and Jocko Willick's book changed my entire life. So she said, sometimes you don't love yourself enough to change, but you have to borrow the belief that others have in you long enough for you to believe it in yourself. Mm-hmm. They saw something in me I didn't know existed, and they cultivated it. And then I started an Airbnb business with 2 successful men who were 9 months and 13 months sober. And I say this, and I mean it wholeheartedly. It was the first time I ever met successful men that were sober. Ever. And they said, look, man, if you've ever thought about it, give it a shot. And I gave it a shot. I lasted 26 days. I failed. I had a drink. I was so upset with myself. I waited 30 more days. I did it again. We're now 6 years and 60 days sober. I lost 75 pounds. I changed my life. I got divorced. Like, I started a podcast all in the same, like, a week. And it's something that I'm like insanely passionate about, because we as society have ruined the conversation of addiction. We have. Okay, let me explain something to you. And it's going to offend some people, and I don't care, okay? Because I talked about it this morning with my fiance in the car. Addiction is not a fucking disease. And it doesn't run in your family. It's an environmental choice. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
To keep it going. Okay? That's number one. The second one is that your family's not big-boned. Like what I mean by that is like Les Brown says, I've never met a big-boned skeleton. And what I mean, what I'm trying to get behind and what I'm trying to say is, don't let your circumstances or whatever happens in your family to dictate what you believe you can accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. And I've watched too many people fall victim to the labels that other people put on them and then give up.
Well, I think, and I think the challenge is that because people think it is a disease, or people do think that like they are riddled with that, like people look down on it, but really being sober and deciding to be sober is one of the greatest things that you can do, and one of the most courageous things that you can do. And so to look down on that as like a weakness is, I think it's a miss in our society, to be honest with you.
And I think that the reason you're watching my whole energy change, because I believe in it so much, because I've watched what it's done to my life and I've watched what it's done to other people's life. The greatest thrill of my entire life is understanding that a lot of us didn't make it through. A lot of us, I mean, literally my fiance's cousin died this morning because she's been addicted for 30 years. She couldn't get out. So like when I'm saying I'm passionate about it, but I'm not. But look, alcohol is the easy target. A lot of us are just addicted to the identity of what our business gives us. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are addicted to the revenue numbers. And at the end of the day, that shit doesn't matter. One of my favorite things in the entire world is like you don't walk through the door and your kids don't go, "Hey daddy, how's the bank account?"
No, they don't care at all. They don't care at all.
Yeah. And one of the best songs in the entire world. I cannot listen to this song. I don't even have kids yet. I can't even listen to this song in public. But Luke Combs sings a song called "I Want to Be Front Door Famous."
Mm-hmm.
Like,
oh, I love that.
Front Door. It's the best song in the world. If you're dad, you're going to cry in 2 seconds. I don't want to be known for who I'm on stage for. I want to be known as the famous guy walking through the front door.
So the one thing I'm trying to figure out over the next 12 months is the travel piece. For me, that is still a very important part of what I do for the business. And I could be at home and creating content for a week and no one's bothering me and I'm completely happy and my business is running and I have my one-on-ones with the 2 people that report to me, and otherwise I'm writing or I'm recording or I'm doing things like this and I'm ecstatic. And I stop at 5 and I go be with my kids.
Sure.
And I don't work on the weekends and it's amazing. But like the travel for me is a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's I don't think I told you this, but we have another baby on the way.
Oh my goodness, congratulations.
Thank you. So this is great because it's going to provide a very necessary and required respite from travel. Mid-April, I'm on a no-fly list till mid-July. So I signed up. Basically, I'm just going to be recording content and being with my family that entire time. But I came home, and this just killed me. I came home after like a 6-day trip. My son's almost 4. He'll be 4 on April 1st. And he got like really kind of quiet and walked into another room. And I was like, and I was like, what's going on? And he goes, Dada, I don't like it when you leave. Can you not do it so much?
Oh my goodness.
Can you not leave so much? And I just fucking broke down, dude. I was like, oh, and like, it's just brutal, dude. But like, it moves the needle so much when I'm gone.
I have an idea for you. I'll give you off camera.
Awesome. Yeah. And I mean, I can talk all I want with my kids about how it helps grow the business, how da-da-da-da-da. It doesn't matter. Like, they don't care. They don't care how big my business is. They care about how much I'm there. And so over the next 12 months, it's one of my goals to offload as many of those trips as possible to members of my team so that they could be out doing the stuff. And I can just maybe go to like 3 or 4 things in a year instead of like sometimes 3 or 4 things in a month.
I have a really good mentor in Arizona, and he has many businesses, and he's retired 3 times on 1,000 acres and left about 3 months in each time. But he said,
yeah, that sounds like probably what I would do.
he says every time I'm done after like 2 months. Wife's like, you need to go do something. Like, this is too much. Yeah. So he said I realized that I got to a point where I only do 2% of the things that my businesses require out of the 98%, but my 2% has more of an impact than the 98% on scale.
Yeah.
And you know, that is kind of the thing. And so one of the things I realized is, like, you have to create people who can speak in the mindset and the values that exist within you so you can double yourself. So you could, you know, like the vision, the kind of thing, and they can kind of like, look, so Josh was cracking up because we didn't even get to all the weird things I've done in my life. He goes, you could write a movie about your life. And so I used to work in the music business for 3 years back in the day. So traveled around, country music, all that stuff.
I didn't know that. So did I.
And so we called it the shit buffer. So I was the guy in front of the lead singer who filtered the BS. And that's what I think every president, owner of a company needs.
Yeah. Yeah, someone that's out there. No, I love that. Yeah, and it's kind of like that one last thing of the business that I need to outsource. Like so I hired an executive assistant last year, and I outsourced, like I offloaded my calendar and my inbox to her. And then I'd do what you did. I'd go out of town for 4 or 5 days, and like whatever needed to happen during that time that needed my responses, like, was offloaded to another team member. And it also just never went back to the way it was before that, which I think is a great strategy for anyone who's listening to this. But now, because of that, I get like maybe 5 or 6 emails per day total.
Yeah. Wow.
And
that's amazing.
Yeah. And so I've just offloaded it. It all just pushes it somewhere else, unless it like absolutely needs me. Like, it's a contract that needs to be signed, but like I get like 5 or 6 emails a day. And so all franchisee communication goes to the brand president. Like, he's really taken charge here. I'm going to have to do the same thing with the travel.
Sure.
And that's kind of a goal of mine for the next 12 months, because my son turns 4 in April. If we're going back to the 5 Types of Wealth book, I've got 6 more years where I'm his everything. And I want to make the best use of that time. And we plan on having, obviously, the other the baby that we're going to have, and maybe one more.
Yeah. There's 3 franchisors right there. So
3 franchisors, the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to train them. I got to teach them how to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this has been an awesome conversation. I've really enjoyed it.
Yes. That's awesome. I'm excited for this journey for you. I think it's a great forum for you. I think that podcasting, once you get like a Rob Dyrdek, who's my favorite entrepreneur of all time.
He's brilliant, man.
He's amazing. Best podcast. People don't understand. That's the best podcast. If you want to know business, listen to that podcast. He said when he started his podcast, the first 30 podcasts, he was just trying to figure out what he was trying to do, who he was, what his voice was.
So, funny story about Rob Dyrdek. I used to work for his agent.
Okay.
So I did a stint in Hollywood right after college. I worked on the teams of agents, and then I worked in music, kind of in the electronic music space. But he was the most impressive person on my boss's client list, and it wasn't close.
No, he is. See, people sleep on him. There's a podcast episode I've probably listened to like 6 times that he went on somebody else's, Pardon me, there's 2 of them. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
literally, it's the best podcast I've ever listened to. This guy is so
You gotta send it.
I'll send it to you. So locked in. I mean, he's just it's on a different planet. The levels to how deep he's thinking is just killer.
Yeah, I want to listen to it for sure. Well, Austin, thank you. Where can people find you if they want to get into the coaching element or learn more or follow you on Instagram, LinkedIn, or whatever? Where can people find you?
Yeah, so Austin Linney, Linney on X, Twitter. You can just shoot me a DM. You can follow Proactive Operators is the name of the company. If you want to reach me, or austinlinney.com, you can reach out to me there. But shoot me a DM and we'll chat.
Awesome. Well, Austin, it's always a pleasure, and thanks for coming on.
Thank you.